Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name's Emma Lefebvre, and most of you know I have been doing a lot of mixed media lately. I even finished my Strathmore 500 series sketchbook, and I loved it so much, I got a brand new one to fill up. But I also got this Royal Talens art creation one in France for a fraction of the price, and some people swear by these as mixed media journals. So today I'm going to do a painting in the Royal Talens ones to see how it compares to the Strathmore. Let's jump in and get started. Okay, so today I wanted to do a little bit of a mixed media sketchbook comparison. So I have this sketchbook, which I recently got. It is the Strathmore 500 series. It's mixed media paper. I have it here on Amazon. It is 190 GM, 90 pounds, 64 pages. I do believe it is 100% cotton. It doesn't say it anywhere there, but it is the same sketchbook as my previous mixed media one, which I absolutely love. The only difference is this is a soft cover and this is a hard cover, and they are different sizes, but the paper is the exact same. This retail price I got for $27 about on Amazon. And I want to compare it to this Royal Talens art creation mixed media sketchbook that I got in France. I know a lot of mixed media artists have said they love these sketchbooks, and they are a fraction of the price of these ones. And I love these ones, so I'm really curious. I think I got this for 850 euros in France. So I'm curious to see how it's going to hold up. I'm not really sure about the difference of weight, because this one said 190 GM, this one says 140, so that is lower. It does feel thinner, but when it says pounds, this is 94 and this one said 90. I don't really understand how that works, but this paper does feel thinner, so I'm very curious to see how this is going to hold up with gouache, because I know a lot of mixed media artists use this. So I did just start this sketchbook. I did this painting for a Patreon exclusive tutorial. I used the Meeden gouache that I recently got, and I really enjoyed it actually for that tutorial. I used it fresh out of the tube, used the mixing tray I got from Meeden, and was pretty impressed with the quality, especially because the price is so great. I also found that because these are so affordable, I didn't feel nervous to really use them. You know, when you have really expensive art materials, you just hesitate using them. I just really enjoyed using these. So that's what we're going to use today. I've already painted in the other one, so I want to test this Royal Talens art creation sketchbook to see how it holds up. So let's get started. Okay, so for the other painting I did do a background, and I actually used watercolor for that. And the reason is, if you use gouache for your background, especially a thick layer, it will reactivate when you try and paint on top. So I find it's a little bit easier to do a background or an underpainting with watercolor. However, because this paper seems on the thinner side, I want to be cautious of how much water I'm using. So I don't want to go too crazy with the water, but I do want to get some color on there. So I'm just going to add watercolor to start. I really don't want it to be too wet. I'm just going to do a smaller, not even a version. I don't want to do the same painting I did in there, but something similar. So I'm just going to do a bit of a blue sky. This paper is also not white. It is kind of like an off-white color, and I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I really do enjoy the brightness of the other paper. Now I can tell that the paint is really gliding on this smoothly, and it's not soaking in as easily as it does with the other. Now I don't believe this is 100% cotton, and that might be why, but also just might be the thinness of the paper. So I don't want to use too much watercolor, but I'm gonna just get a background going here. Okay, so now I'm gonna let this, I'm just gonna add some more on there. Now I'm gonna let this completely dry. Okay, so now that it's dry, I'm just looking at it. It's actually, I mean, it did warp, obviously, like all paper would, and especially thinner paper. It's not too bad though with that first wash. I mean, I feel like it's actually quite similar to this. They're all gonna warp, but I really don't mind. It's just kind of what happens with a full sketchbook. That's the beauty of it. So just embrace it. Okay. So because this is off-white, I don't really like that watercolor look underneath of the blue. It looks a little dull, so I might go over top of that with gouache after. But I want to get started on creating a bit of a garden, kind of like the other photo. So I had a bunch of greens. I have this kind of like viridian green, the dark green, this, oh, it has names, sap green. I'm just like making up. Is this viridian? Oh, it is viridian. Look at me. Okay. Some of this cobalt blue, which is more like a lavender, which I love. A decent amount of white, right? Because white, I find, the only thing I said in my Patreon video about this set is I wish they had two whites. You might want to get yourself a different white if you do have this, just because you tend to go through white quite easily. Okay, so I'm going to create a grass texture back here. I have my brush. See how it's kind of all chopped up? It was nice and smooth like this, nice point, but I'm going to dry it. And I'm just going to break up those bristles a bit, and it's going to create a really nice kind of grassy texture. So I'm going to start with this bright green, and I'm just tapping it on my oh my gosh, my palette, and I'm just going to create this grassy texture. And I'm just going to keep dipping it into the paint. Now, don't be afraid to do this to your brushes. Okay, you can just mold them back when they're done. It's just as long as you don't leave them like this after you're done painting, they will go back to their original shape. I'm gonna add a little bit of white so there's some lightness in the grass. And then I'm gonna start mixing in some of the next color. And I'm just going to have it slowly start to blend and kind of change as we come in closer. So I just want to do this like little garden-y field. Might even mix a little bit of that green in it with it. A little garden kind of field of flowers. And I think that will give us a really nice idea of how this gouache behaves. So I feel like getting a little bit too dry. I'm going to add just a little bit of water here. Add a tiny bit of the darker green. And then start to make it a little bit darker as it gets closer to us. Now, obviously, these illustrations are not realistic. This is more of like a fun, bright, gouache illustrative thing. But I've been really enjoying this style lately. And I definitely encourage you to try it because it's just like so whimsical and fun to kind of just create without trying to make sure it's perfect or, I don't know, realistic and detailed. Like it can be detailed in a different way, if that makes sense. Okay, a little bit of water. I'm gonna start to do a little grass flicks there. A little bit of white. Like so. Let me grab a little bit of yellow here. Oopsie, that was darker than I thought. A little bit of water. That's not doing what I wanted to do. That's fine. I'll just blend that out. Okay. Okay. Little blades of grass. Okay, the sky is kind of bugging me, so I am going to do the sky a different color. I'm going to grab, I don't want that blue actually, I want the cerulean blue. I want it to be kind of like a bright blue. Maybe a little bit of white in there. That's a little too bright. I think I got a little bit too happy with that color. There we go. Just so it looks a little bit more opaque and less of that kind of dull blue underneath. And I just really enjoy the boldness. Maybe I'll do some clouds too. The boldness of the gouache. And because we're not really going to be layering too much on top of this, I don't mind doing the background gouache. Okay. Let me do some clouds, and then we'll do some little blades of grass on top of that after. So far, this paper is holding up quite nicely. I am quite impressed. I'm going to do a little wispy clouds, I don't know. Or some I don't know. Okay. So I am going to start doing some flowers and then I'll do the grass line again later. So I think I want to do a little bit of these yellow ones kind of far away. Nice little yellow dots here, like I did in the other painting. And I just added a little bit of white to the yellow. I find yellow can sometimes not be as opaque, so it helps to add a little bit of white. And also it's nice to have different, values. So you have some light yellow, some dark yellow. It just gives it a little bit more depth when there's range of the colors. Like that. Then I'm going to grab a little bit of red. And I'm going to mix some of that with the yellow. And I'm going to do kind of like these poppies. Like, look how opaque that is. How nice that layers over top. Add a little bit more white. Just a tiny bit of water. I'm going to do some smaller ones. Remember, the further away it is, the smaller they are. So just do a couple smaller ones behind, and then you can do some bigger ones closer to us. Do like a side view. Little ones kind of further back. Like that. Grab a little bit more red and just make some parts a bit more vibrant. Like that. I love red poppies. And I'm gonna get a little bit more white, make some parts a little bit lighter. And I'm really not even making like petal shapes. It's just kind of giving that illusion by doing these little kind of marks with my brush. I want a little bit more of that red, a little bit more intensity. This is vermilion, like an orangey red. Let's get some of that vibrancy of the poppies in there. like that. Okay. Then for the flowers in the front, what I loved doing in the other one were these almost like a delphinium. So imagine like a stocky flower. They're bigger. There's too much water on my brush. They're thicker towards the bottom. And then you're going to go up this invisible kind of stalk. And then it gets smaller and smaller. And I am going to do some lighter colors on there just so it doesn't look as flat. I'm obsessed with this color. But you're just kind of going up this invisible stalk, and we'll actually draw the stem after. So you're just doing these little marks, kind of like a cone shape. And then just little dots towards the top. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of white to get some highlights in there. Oops. Just try not to mix it too much. You don't want to reactivate the grass underneath. So I'm just like doing the most gentle taps. So far, this sketchbook is holding up really well. I'm actually very surprised. Like to take such a thick wash of something and just, I don't know, it's good. Okay, I am going to mix a little bit of my white with these greens. Got to reactivate them a bit more again. And I'm going to do kind of like the stems going through these delphiniums. I'm wondering if they should be lighter, maybe a bit more yellowy. Have some leaves. That. I'll do some dark leaves too, or dark stems, just to, or maybe some grass blades, like darker ones. Maybe they need to be lighter. Yeah. Have some of the stems for the poppies as well. So the poppies aren't just floating there. Little just kind of layer these colors on top of each other. Just all the different layers of green makes it so vibrant. Okay. I'm going to take just a tiny bit of yellow and put it in some of these delphiniums. Just like little dots for the centers, just to make them pop a little bit. You also have that kind of like yellowy purple contrast. And then I do want to take some, I would say black, but I think I might just use this dark green because it's so dark. And I'm going to do the center of the poppies, some of them. Just kind of doing these dark centers, and it's just a dark green I'm using. Might get an even smaller brush for the little dots. I have this really tiny, tiny detail brush, which is really great for those tiny details. So I'm going to use that. Or you could always use a fine liner if you wanted to. Whatever is the easiest for you. You could do some of the grass blades. And because I painted over it up there, I'm going to grab some of this. Actually, I need that kind of like sap green color for some of the grass blades in the back. Since we went over it with the sky. There we go. This looks like extremely long grass. And there we go. I actually love how this turned out. Finally, I'm just going to take, oh, there's orange in that white. Should I? Yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. Just a little bit more for some of the clouds here. Like that. And there we go. I think that's it. I might actually just want to add a little bit more highlight on some of these poppies. Okay. And there we go. So honestly, looking at these sketchbooks side by side, I mean, they both, I would say, warped the same amount. This is thinner, but like if you look at the back, there's not too much of a difference in the warpage, if that makes sense. I'm actually very surprised with this paper. Like, I didn't think it would take it that well, and it really did. So that was a lot of fun. Honestly, the gouache has been so much fun to use. I do suggest if you are new to gouache and you want to get a set, the Meet and Gouache is a lot of fun. It's a really great option for beginners, and it comes with a whole set of colors. So that's pretty awesome. Really enjoyed that. So all in all, I do love my Strathmore sketchbooks so much. I do love the quality and the thickness of the paper, but if you are on a budget and you do have access to the Royal Talons one, this might be a really great option for you. I'm thoroughly impressed. So, and 84 sheets too. That's a lot of paper. This is going to be a huge sketchbook to fill, but I'm up for the challenge. The last thing I did want to mention is while I do love that this sketchbook, the Royal Talons, is really great for gouache and it held up really well, I don't know if I would use watercolor in this. One, because it is such a wet medium, it may not be the best for that because it might warp the pages more so than others, and I only used it for the background. Also, because it is that off-white color and watercolor is a transparent medium, I didn't love the way that, you know, the blue kind of came through with that like slight yellow undertone. So while I do think this is an amazing sketchbook, I think this is way better for more mixed media like gouache, acrylic markers, even colored pencils is awesome on this. I did use a little bit of color pencils for the sky. It is nice and smooth. So As for mixed media, not really including too much watercolor, I highly recommend this. But if you're looking for more of that bright white underneath, I would go with the Strathmore. If you guys know of any other sketchbooks, mixed media sketchbooks that you absolutely love and you want to recommend, let me know in the comments below and what you guys thought. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. Have a great day, guys. Bye.